Wednesday.
This show is brought to you by Stash House Pineapple Hazy IPA. Yum, 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 yum.
Ooh, pineapple.
No, don't even go there. Anyway, how are the two of you?
I'm doing
drunk.
No, you're not.
No.
Dweez, what kind of weather you got?
It is so nice and mellow. The hurricane blew the hot away. It's nice.
Good.
Tolerable.
You got some new glasses too.
Yes, I have new glasses. Yes.
Very nice.
Got rid of those other things that were horrible.
So, Steve, did you see the pictures I put on the intro of you?
Mm-hmm.
I like
those were nice.
They were nice.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, I'm gonna rock those clothes. I thought I was gonna look like an idiot, which I did, but I felt fabulous in those, and those were comfortable. Like those are great beach attire.
They looked
comfortable. You only liked your toenails painted white.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made you feel fabulous.
They did match your toenails.
I did.
Yeah.
Because I've done the formal before, and we used to work in a funeral home and stuff. I was like, I either want to go all out and bust out my 3-piece suit, or I want to be kind of ridiculous. So we settled on that.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Well, all right. So I'm going to quickly, just before we bring in our guest tonight, I'm going to say hi to everybody. Bill H., Duck Spit, Bonnie's in the house. Hey, girl. John Wayne made it down from flying. Good job. And Wendy is still with us.
Yes, she did not blow away.
Kramer, Justin, Trevor. Hello, Trevor Steele, Mad Sloper, Lone Star Paramotor, and
oh man, Rain with Lone Star is probably going to eventually move to Oregon. I bet you.
I know she
liked it
how
here.
Beautiful it is. Yeah.
She liked the beer. She liked the food.
Linda and Chuck Dodge, welcome, sir. And Eric PPG Lear is also, and
she's froze. Kevin,
just warm her up. You got to warm her up. There she goes.
Head to Boulder. Oh no, we just lost him.
Oh,
there he goes.
He's back.
There
All right,
is.
let's head to Boulder, Colorado, and talk to Sky Hiker Mike. Well, hello, sir. We thought you left us.
It was
I was having some audio issues, so I just refreshed quick.
All right.
How you guys doing?
Like a turd in a punch bowl.
Is that me or is it?
It's you. It's you, Jade.
Man, we need to pitch in. I'm going to start a GoFundMe, get her some Starlink.
What she's in a different location tonight, so
yeah,
it's
you get
change of connection speed, huh?
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike.
I'm a flyer here in Colorado. I've been flying for over 5 years now, and just got obsessed with it. After my first year, essentially, I knew it was all in, and I wanted to, eventually become an instructor and help teach people and usher people into the air. And I spent, basically 4 years after that, just gaining experience, flying with people. Worked with a couple schools, and now I'm creating my own sky hikers. And
where did you first see a paramotor?
Where did I first? I had always wanted to fly. I had always wanted to fly, and I'd go to the airport and I would get turned away. I'd talk to like an airplane instructor. I'd tally up all the costs of getting a pilot's license, and I could not justify the costs of that. And then I would, a couple of years later, I would end up back at that airport. Like I forgot about it because I had such a draw, and again, turned away. And then, I guess somehow I started, it just like most people, it was on YouTube. I saw a clip. It was probably Tucker Gott. I don't know. It could have been other people. There was a whole slew of people, as it starts, just like most people, you see it and you're like, that looks crazy. You know, and then you start doing more research and you find out that it's actually, you know, if you treat it with respect, it's a very safe form of flying.
Mhm.
I remember that was my biggest feeling when I was like, I'm interested, but then I was like, wait, am I going to break my legs?
Yeah.
No. And so I studied every accident report and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I think I can manage not to fly in power lines if I choose my area. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I just found videos, and there were a couple of videos that just pushed me over the edge, and I was like, yeah, I have to do this. One, I don't know if it was from Fly Guy Alberta. He has like a top 10 reasons not to get into paramotoring. Yeah. And that video was like, I still watch it.
I love watching him.
Because it's so true, you know, everything he says, you know, and like at the end, one of like his last reason is like, because after you see the world like this, nothing makes sense. You know, and it's really kind of true, you know, it's just an amazing perspective. So but there's that video. Another one was I can't remember where it was just like an interview of different paramotor pilots. One was like a former like a guy who flew fighter jets, and another was a guy who flew what's it called, like, you know, Airbus, you know, flew general aviation passenger planes. And he talked about how he loved aviation, but flying like as a passenger planes kind of like beat it out of him, and he was just kind of like felt like a glorified Airbus driver. And then he said he found paramotors and it like revived it. And not only that, but he said it was just that experience of not being in a cockpit. Like, you can't beat that. You know, you're not like in a plane, you're flying in one of the most pure forms. So after seeing those videos, I was like, yeah, sign me up, you know. And I found some training, and yeah, and then my first attempt, I face planted. My first foot launch was not a pretty sight. So but
neither was mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went home that night, and I was like, man, do I really want to do this? Is this really something, you know? And then I came back the next day and just started knocking flights out, and, you know, just feeling it out and learning and getting more and more sensitive. And it's, yeah, after that, it's just game over. You know, I just kept getting more and more into it.
So Trevor Steele wants to know, how do you like your McFly?
I like the McFly.
What kind did you get? Did you get the travel cage frame or the one with the torque compensating fins?
The torque compensations. Yep.
Nice.
I want to really try that out. I'm still kind of, the harness doesn't feel, I feel like there's still adjustments I need to make to really have it fully comfortable. It's like nearly comfortable. It's just like after flying for an hour, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm kind of sitting a little funny, you know, it just sneaks up on me. But I adjusted some today.
How's the torque comp feel on that?
It's amazing. Like literally, like I can go hands off, brakes, and just go into that full throttle, and it doesn't budge.
Really?
Can you add that piece on to a regular McFly?
I don't know the exact details of all their different frame setups, but I do have regular spars. So, you know, since this is going to be a school unit, you know, I got an extra set of just regular titanium spars. So if anything breaks, I can swap them out.
Yeah.
But
that was actually my first choice when I was getting in, is I wanted a McFly with the aerodynamic stuff. But back then we had different dealers for them and people who changed their minds all the time. So I didn't think I was going to get local support. And the guy who sold most of them at the time, like, I didn't know if I was going to get support for it as much as I would with what I fly now. But yeah, your McFly that was actually my very first choice.
It's that torque compensation is pretty impressive. And you know, like when you fly a whole bunch, it's like you don't really notice it at first, but after a couple of, like, you know, launches and you just have no pull either way, it's really keeps you straight. Like, it's funny because there's like a moment right when you like step into that throttle and the engine's revving up, you're like, oh, it's starting to torque. But the second there's air flowing past that netting, it cancels it out right away.
Mhm.
So, I mean, in the end, when you're flying, it doesn't affect pretty much your heading. Maybe a little bit on my free ride, but that's just because it's such a sensitive wing, you know.
And the price point really wasn't that bad, because last time when I was comparing, like I bought my Parajet for 8,400 and the Mac Fly at the time was like 7,600. So, you still had like a grand difference in monetary value almost, which was another like striking point for it. But yeah, even on a Parajet that has the offset blocks, you rev it up to full throttle and you got to weight shift like crazy to cancel it out.
Yeah. The Parajet does still have, decent torque to it. So
Well, Trevor says to add a dudek, and let's see, who was it?
Probably a dudek power seat, and that's what
Shane
he said.
Planet Shane says that it's a larger, and it'll help with that.
I actually have one that I may consider swapping on there. I'm still kind of test flying it, changing adjustments, trying to make it,
It'll help with comfort.
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So where did you train at initially?
Initially, I was here in Colorado. I trained at Colorado Paramotor through Daniel West. So, seek training there, and yeah.
And now you're going to dominate, and you're going to.
Now I'm a little kind of. I don't know. I feel weird with that, but I also I'm addicted, and I have to share it. So sorry.
Well, you've been doing a great job, because I've been following your flock, and every guy that you pump out, I mean, they're all over the place sharing the joy and stuff. They're not on the groups being like, look at me so much. It's just like, hey, another day enjoying the skies. And that's a big thing. Like,
it's
Travis and Andy, where they passed. Travis has probably more than 100 flights now. He probably has more flights than me.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure what his number's at now, but it has been extremely rewarding, like training students, watching them excel, watching them learn. And, like one of the biggest things I try to really emphasize is a continual learning mindset. It's like I train them off, I get them flying, but I really try to, basically get them to turn into their own teachers, because the sport's so much larger than what you can just teach in the beginning, and continually like fine tuning, and, there's a lot to learn. And so I really try to emphasize that, continual learning, always look at what you're doing. When mistakes happen, analyze them, try to learn from them as much as possible. But
I love that you brought that up, because I always feel like people think they can go get training and then that's it, or they can go get training and expect to have a year's worth of knowledge crammed into a week. It's like your initial training is just to get you up and down safely and to give you some basics, but it is all about continual education, even if you just fly in a basic way, and finding the smartest people out there and getting information from them, and then knowing what kind of questions to ask when you don't know. Either you're reading,
you don't know what
vector cards, or if you get into weird scenarios, and then that's where you're asking Trevor Steele, and you're asking other people questions, not just your instructor. You get it from a whole bunch of people. The instructor's there mostly for the basics, and then to keep giving you that support.
Yeah, and because of that, I originally wanted to also do, part of it, I wanted to do a lot of schools and run like a 10-day or 2-week thing. But here in Colorado, I don't think that's something we can do. We don't get the consistent weather, to say, all right, here's a 10-day chunk, and we're definitely going to have enough for kiting and flying and training. I just don't think that, I wouldn't be able to give people the quality of training that I would want to give them. So I opt for, I kind of have a continual training. I try to stick with people that are in the local area so that I can, continue working with them and continue seeing them, and kind of like, slow fade after they're trained, and, we'll still fly, and, but I think that, just because of Colorado, the conditions,
It's like that so many places, and then so many people try to book a week or two training, and then it's like, well, what do you do if it's blown out? Well, in reality, even some of my favorite guys that I love and adore, they might pump out students that only get a flight or two within their training. That person has to go back home and try to go solo unless they can make it down again. Or if your person is kind of shady and you have a blown out week, they might just try to shove you up in bad winds and
Yeah.
plucked it.
So, yeah, those are the exact reasons why I've decided that I'm not going to try to do a 10-day clinic here and just stick to doing, local flyers that can, commute. With my students, I commit 2 to 3 days a week, sometimes more, sometimes less because of scheduling and weather. So, but that's kind of what we do. So,
how many students have you sent up yet?
Like eight of my own students. I got a student still on the ground. But yeah, my most recent student just got flight number 10 in this morning. Looking real great.
Have you left anybody up there?
Have I what?
Left anybody up there?
What do you mean? Bye. No.
What has it been like when have you learned anything from teaching your first couple to like number 8 or 9? What was it like getting your first couple up there for the first time as an instructor? Were you kind of panicked about it? Was it fun, or you had ease? How did it all go?
The first couple weren't bad. So first couple through Sky Hikers. It wasn't bad. I had Travis and I had Andy, and they both had good kiting background, but they weren't ready, to push the rest of the way, into the air. So they already had some kiting experience, which made it easier. I just had to kind of come in and correct some bad habits, just kind of give them higher understanding of wing energy and wing awareness. But they did great, and yeah, they got up just fine. It's a couple small issues on landing on your first time, but just what you expect when you're first time you're landing.
So where you train, is it flat land or is it kind of up in the hills?
No, we go flat land. There's a nice field around here. I take a lot of advantage of for first flights because it's nice and big and open. It's in a town nearby. But then other than that, I do hop around. Like when we're just kiting, I hop around a lot more to different fields just because it's good to. I don't want to get any kind of location fixation, but. Yeah. And kiting, you can get away with that, in various fields. Flying not so much. But
so later on, when you're training, I'm asking this because of the mountains in Colorado.
Yeah.
When you're training people, do you teach about the lee side of the I don't know about mountains and all that, but the lee side of the mountain and whatever the other side is?
Right. Yeah.
Winds and all that stuff.
I try to put a good scare into my students about the mountains because you got to be picky when you're getting in your wind conditions when you're pushing up to the mountains there. But yeah,
isn't that like how often can you get close to the mountains since the wind's always going to be coming from the opposite side?
So I mean, that's just a wind question. When does the wind blow a certain way? That's hard to tell. Generally when I fly in the mountains or when I'm pushing deeper, like past that first ridge. So I'm looking for a morning flight when the wind's very light. And there's always a wind shift, about like an hour after sunrise, usually where the wind kind of shifts from coming down the mountains because you get the cool air that comes down the mountains and that creates, a flow away from them. But a lot of times in the morning, there'll be a wind shift and then it's pushing back up the mountains. So that's kind of always what I'm looking for. Obviously, you don't want to have wind coming down the mountains at you because it's usually real nasty. And every time I go out to the mountains, you do slow passes. It's like you approach it and you're kind of sniffing out those winds, making sure that it's okay. I've definitely gone out there. When I take students, I always try to lead the way, feel out that air. And sometimes, as you approach the foothills, you start getting hit with trash, and you just turn around, give yourself some, distance from it, seek back that smooth air. The other thing I look for when I'm dipping into the mountains far is I actually look for the winds that are on the backside of those mountains. Like if there's big wind pushing, but it's like stopping and it's smooth where we are, I still get worrisome. I'm worried that pressure is pushing through the valleys and it's going to create, streams of air that are whipping through those valleys, creating more turbulent conditions. So whenever flying into the mountains, I just go for very light wind. I plan about for like 45 minutes until I'm approaching that first ridge after sunrise, because that's usually when the wind is switching. And yeah, just always keeping an eye on the winds. As I bomb over those ridges, I'm looking at the leaves and the trees. I'm following the wind. I'm looking at, any water, dirt bikers on the trails, kicking up dirt, just wind watching as you fly. Just that extra high level when you're in the mountains, extra cautious. But it's awesome, man. Flying the mountains it's beautiful. So this last flight I had in the mountains was great. We went down Left Hand Canyon, and there's just a huge, 30, 40 foot, cliff rock ledge that you're flying next to. And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
What we do is just incredible. I still can't believe it. It's a thing we get to do.
I guess it's incredible what we do on flatland. Then you get into the mountains, it's got to be just a whole different deal.
Yeah.
But that's if you had mile high stickers after the first flight.
Yeah. It is kind of this change, though. It's interesting because it's one of those other things I try to talk to my students about is there's this difference between, hey, we're just going flying, and then there's like adventure flying.
Yeah.
Right. And when we bomb into the mountains, it's like a mix of that. Like, hey, we're just flying. If anything happens, you're going to land out next to a road. There's going to be people. We're going to come pick you up. It's going to be no big deal. The second you bomb over that first ridge, you've entered kind of adventure flying. If you have an out or if anything happen, you got to be more on your game. You got to be thinking about where am I going to be hiking where I land, try to get near a road. You're taking higher risks. But it's that risk versus reward, for the adventure flying. It's amazing to see those sights, but you're pushing out there a little more, definitely.
So what kind of flying do you do?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a low flyer. I'm a low dynamic flyer. That's what I really like to do. I like long flights. When I go flying, I'm usually when I go personally flying, I'm usually in the air for at least an hour, probably an hour and a half. But yeah, I love the low flying. I love the foot dragging, putting my foot on the water. That's a blast. Definitely grown with how I've done that. When I first started flying, I did not have the respect for some of the safety issues as I do now. Mainly flying over water.
Oh yeah.
Big risk. So
Very much.
when I was still fresh, I did not respect it like I should have. I did have flotation and I mean, I don't even fly with my flotation anymore because I'd never fly over water that's usually more than a couple inches.
Yeah.
So
Steve, you have any video of him?
Yeah, I got a video of him. So I got to hang out with Mikey last October, and I didn't go up for a flight. It was kind of gusty that day. I only had my wing with me, but Mike did, and he had this awesome landing.
Yeah, and one of my better moments, share my first turtle ever.
Oh, whoa.
Let's watch that again.
Oh, you got to show me a good landing now, please.
Oh.
There's a fly-in here in Colorado that I love going to, and one of the landowners always compliments my landings because they're usually much more graceful than that.
He was so pissed though because we had been friends for like a year.
I was so good.
He was so excited to fly in front of me and all this. It's not like I'm good at what I do. Like I botch stuff all the time. And he's like, no, it's hurled.
Yeah, I was I was excited to fly with you.
Super
And
gutsy that day.
it definitely was conditions I wouldn't have normally gone flying, but I just had to push it. You know.
Bill H wants to know
Definitely
if it's hard to launch in a high altitude.
Yeah, there is an effect with high altitude here. You definitely don't see many Atom 80s around here, though. Really? I've seen people. I've heard of people moving here, you know, with their Atom 80, and then they have to upgrade. Just not quite enough power to get a good climb rate. And yeah, a little couple extra meters on your wing doesn't hurt as well when you're flying from, at least because we're at 5,200 feet here. So yeah.
Wow.
And some of our fly-ins are in the mountains up to like 8,000. So
our future guest, Pete Marion, which I want to get him on as a future guest. He can't be shy because I see his reels all the time, and he's a goofy guy just like us.
I like Pete. I wish I could follow him more. Yeah.
He says, "Have you ever launched from Leadville yet?"
Man, when we were in Buena Vista last year, I tried to do the one-way trip from Buena Vista to Leadville, and I was flying it with a friend, you know, and I took off, and then he failed a couple launches, and I spent probably like 30 minutes buzzing the LZ. You know, and then finally he got up and we took off for Leadville. We're getting there, and I'm like looking at my gas. I'm like, oh man, it's getting low. I'm boosting up I could see the airport. I can see the Leadville airport like right there, and nope, didn't make it. You know, that 30 minutes of buzzing was like exactly what I needed, and so I floated down and just landed on the side of the road. Well, in a field, I had to jump a couple fences, which, you know, is always fun with a paramotor on your back. But yeah, and then I just sat by the side of the road, wait for a ride. You know, we have a good crew that was up there. So there's a pretty good Colorado crew around here. So.
Have you flown with David Proctor yet? That guy's always freaking flying.
I've flown with him just a little bit, but we talk here and there. I definitely want to get down and spend more time flying with him. He's down in Colorado Springs, so that's where I lived literally right before I got into paramotoring. We were moving from outside of Colorado Springs in the mountains, and that's when I had already reached out, and yeah, but yeah. I want to fly with him. We talk here and there, and yeah, just haven't gotten that trip. It's like 2 hours from where I am to get down to where he is, which is a little far for, you know, an evening or morning of flying. So
yeah.
Gluteus Fanius says the world wants to know, where did you get the socks? Okay, and if that's the case, you need to stick your foot up there and let us see your socks.
No, I don't have any exciting socks right now, but I do have, you know, a variety of socks I like to flash. I don't know. I used to do it more so. I tried to usually, you know, Gluteus Fanius has been following some of my videos for a while. So my older videos, I used to always try to put a shot of different socks in them. Mm-hmm. Been a little while. I should do that again for you, buddy.
Yeah, people find that kind of stuff exciting.
So I want to know, what are some of your like scary experiences you've had?
All right, yeah. So yeah, I definitely had one of the most lucky run-ins with complacency I think you could say someone could have. It was when I was first getting really good at, like, you know, cranking and banking and getting into my low flying, and just losing track of, you know, where you are in your moment, and being too in the moment and letting all that safety stuff go out. And so what had happened was there was this nice setup. There was, like, you know, I was getting into low flying. There were 2 trees, and like I went through them and I banked, and I was like, oh, sweet, you know, and then up from that was another gap with trees. And I was like, oh, sweet, I'm going to come back through. And I'm like hitting these gaps of trees. And then I was like, oh, one. And then another one. I'm like, oh, sweet. And then I'm turning around this next one because they just lined up so perfectly, not paying attention. And bam, I'm dodging power lines. There were power lines right there. I was curving around a bush. Some of my wing hit the power lines. I turned it hard, banked hard. My other side of the wing hit this bush. and I went down into a small stream. It was like maybe a foot of water, but it was mostly all bushes and trees and stuff to really lighten my fall. And man, it happened so fast. It was like, bam! I was like on the ground, you know, not even time for any adrenaline or anything. And I'm like on the ground, and I'm like, I'm okay. I think I'm okay. You know, you give that search over because it like just happened so fast. And I'm still strapped into my motor, like in the foot of water and the sand and wing all behind me in the bushes. And I'm like, call my wingman, call the guy I'm flying with at that moment and be like, hey, I'm okay, but I'm down. But I went down, you know. And so he buzzes back to the LZ, comes, picks me up. I'm totally unfazed because, like I said, it happened so fast. There was no time for adrenaline, no anything. I just, you know, I get out, I pull my motor out, I pull my wing out, I inspect it, it looks fine. My friend comes, picks me up, and we head back to the LZ. I pull out one of my other motors and go for a couple more flights. But in all honesty, it was, man, I was incredibly lucky. You know, it hit power lines and crash from flying and walk away. Like I had a couple bruises on my hand, maybe on my hip, but it wasn't until a couple days later that it really started sinking into me, like how lucky I was. I really got away with nothing. And I remember going back and watching one of Tucker Gott's crash videos with a guy who was in a similar situation, except he was big open field, but like seeing power lines and banking hard, crashing. And so I wanted to rewatch it, and I watched that, and in that crash, he screams out with such pain, like, and it gave me such chills, and I like started crying, you know, just like, it's scary. Like the thing about this sport is it's so easy to forget like how bad it can be, you know. It's easy, and when you lose that sense is when you open yourself up to complacency, and it's hard to sense that, you know. You got to watch out for that, definitely.
What about have you had any, well, one, do you have any other scary moments, or more specifically, have you ever had any scary moments due to weather and wind conditions?
I've hit some pretty crappy air before, taken tip collapses, nothing super major. Playing with my wing overs, you know, I've taken tip collapses, nothing too big. I'd say no, not too much in terms. I mean, I'm usually pretty careful about the wind I fly in. Just because, you know, like so much of the risks in the sport, you know, we get to control, and that's one we don't. The wind is, you just got to pick good conditions. So, and usually if the wind is strong here, it's not very fun to fly in. So,
right.
Bonnie France.
Oh, go ahead.
Bonnie France wants to know if you fly with an especially large wing due to the elevation.
Not especially large. I started on a 25 meter. I went to a 22 Piper, which I really enjoyed. And then I went with a Sirocco that just kind of fell into my hands. And it's a little oversized for me, but I love the Sirocco. It's a 24, and that's kind of where I set. That's like my happy spot right now. Although I do want to size it down. But I also have a free ride, and that's a 17 meter. So I've gone that small flying up here with, you know, I'd say no problems, but it is fast. It's a fast wing, you know.
Not being nosy, but what's your weight?
My weight, I'm like 155 pounds, just me. So then throw on, you know, 55, 60 extra pounds.
Yeah, you are pretty light on that.
Depending on, you know, which my gravity, you know, I have a gravity defy, and that thing weighs almost 80 pounds full of gas. So, but, yeah, I'm light on it, but it helps with the altitude and the easy launching. It's nice, man. don't know. Fell in love with it. But yeah, I do want to upgrade my quiver. But
you do have a pretty decent quiver of frames. What all frames do you have?
Yeah, so I started on my Gravity Defy. That's what I trained on. After that,
and that's not a Gravity Defiant. That's a Defy, which is not the full body gas tank.
Not the full body gas tank. No, it's the one before that. It comes apart better than that. I didn't have all the transport stuff, so when I traveled, I was putting it on like a car carrier above the car because it disassembled so well. After that, I got an Adventure Pluma, which I really enjoyed. Part of it was because it was e-start, or dual start, but that was a nice feature. Also really comfy, although I do feel like the frame was a little, on the flimsier side. But I do enjoy it. Then I did get an Iris, which I flew for a little while. I have a Fly Mech with a Sky 150.
I didn't know you had one of those.
Yeah, I like it. It's weird because it torques the opposite direction as the Moster, and I run a 3-blade helix off it, and it's got some massive torque. I could launch that thing if I go full. I can almost go into wingtip drags on launch because it's got so much torque. That's what I use if I'm trying to do tandems. And then what did I got the Mac Fly, and then I got a Parajet Maverick. Yeah, Para Addict, like I said.
So you have tandems?
Oh, I had a couple here and there. Colorado is tough, with the wind, but it's I have to have good wind, and usually if there's good wind, it's not pleasant to fly in.
Matt Slover wants to know why so many motors.
Well, for one, I'm addicted to paramotoring, obviously. But also, I really wanted to try out lots of motors. All the reviews I've seen of motors,
he's rich.
They review them, and then they're like, yeah, it's a great motor. Da, da, da. What else have you flown? Just this.
Yeah.
Or maybe one other frame. So I really wanted to fly several frames so I could really get a good sense. And I hope to put a big review video out of all my different frames eventually. But yeah, I just, like I said, I wanted to fly different frames and really feel like I understand them and know them well. And yeah, having some, money behind me definitely helps.
He's rich.
Yeah.
So.
Do you go to fly-ins? Bill H wants to know.
I do. I really want to go to more fly-ins. I have a family with some young kids, so it makes it hard to get far from Colorado. So most of the fly-ins I go to have been around here. There's a good Buena Vista fly-in. There's a Devil's Tower fly-in in Wyoming, which is really growing. I'm down for them, but they're just hard. They're hard for me to get to. I still have yet to go to Moab, which is the paramotor central of the world. I feel like a big paramotor playground, and I'm actually pretty close to it. So there's a Colorado group going out there soon. I'm hoping I can join. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I love the idea of it. I do want to go. It's just right now my kids are young, so it's hard to get far away for a week.
How old are your kids?
My eldest just turned 8, and my youngest is about to turn 5 in October.
Wow.
So still, young and lots of activity, lots of maintenance.
Do you have any? Are there any free flight spots where you're at? I can't imagine there are because of winds, but
no, there is. Yeah.
There is?
We have a place here. What's the name of it? I can't remember the name of it, but there's a place just on the northwest edge of Boulder where they do some paragliding. I haven't gone up there, but I know that I've definitely created a little bit of conflict with them. I mean, free flyers and motorists tend to sometimes clash a bit. But I mean, mainly it's because they get the complaints from our motor noise, you know, and so they don't like that. But well, I'm like, you should tell them that's not us. But
have you had any interest in free flight?
Yes and no. You know, I toy more around with the idea, especially recently. Like when I get out and there is some wind, I'm definitely like testing out some ridge soaring. You know, trying to gain extra lift, flying close to some nice ridges. The idea of going out and like flying thermals, just it doesn't appeal to me. I love that super smooth butter air. You know, just no bumps at all. That's what I love flying in.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's not usually what free flying is about, from my understanding. You know, you're usually getting, you know, definitely hitting those surges of thermals and having, you know, more collapses, definitely. I mean, you're more lightly loaded and stuff. But I mean, I remember talking with paraglider pilots that are like, you know, like, what's too rough for you? And they're like, oh, if I'm taking a, you know, 2 or 3 collapses in a couple of minutes, like 10 minutes or whatever. I'm like, oh God. I mean, how many collapses do paramotor pilots take?
Yeah,
like usually none. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, and that reminds me, yeah, I did have a collapse once that scared me. Referring back to your earlier question, one time when I was flying right up near the mountains, near the Flatirons, and, you know, it was one of those things like, oh, what's that first collapse going to be like? And then it happens and it literally just pops right back out. You know, it almost like fixed the situation and just
like before you know it, it happens.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
That fast.
I mean, so it was when I was still more fresh, more green, you know? And so like I'm flying and I felt the wing kick way back and I'm like, oh, what's happening? And I actually pulled a little bit of brake, you know, as that wing kicked way back, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do, right? And so I pulled a little brake, sensing, I was like, oh yeah, hands up. And so when I went hands up, it was like right at the moment when it wanted to shoot, you know, so it like faded back. I helped it go back. And then I was like, yeah, go. It shot forward. You know, I dumped all the way down to my butt. You know, I couldn't, it wasn't enough to stop it, but it just took a quick collapse, popped itself out and fixed itself pretty quick. And just kind of, you know, I tumbled through some air, you know, glided down until I had better air and it was fine. Nothing after that, you know, so.
So where is your favorite place to fly?
Oh, wow. Oh.
Just to let y'all know, before he answers this, just to let y'all know, Jade's having a really bad internet connection. So she's in and out, but she just is really having a bad internet connection. So
it's mostly because her internet router is her foot, and you've seen that thing. So it's causing all sorts of
yeah,
issues.
she lost her little
antenna
fixator. So yeah, so
yeah.
get her a good connection.
She had great reception with that thing.
Yeah. So all right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Best place to fly.
On the way to the mountains and, you know, north of Boulder, there are these big satellite dishes that I think are just a blast to fly by. I think they're, you know, it's a really cool thing to, you know, they're kind of, there's like a plateau that kind of decays away and they're right on the edge of it, you know, two that are like tiered off. And so it's really cool because there's enough space to fly between them and get a good close view of them. And I always enjoyed that. I think that might be, you know, one of my favorite local spots. I don't know. That's hard to say. Really, just every place you fly is so amazing. You know, I flown some Badlands in South Dakota. That was pretty memorable. Flying around the lake in my hometown in Minnesota, in Brainerd.
You've been to the Boneyard in Arizona, haven't you?
The Boneyard in Arizona. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would be a great place to fly.
That was an incredible flight too.
And what's the Boneyard for people that don't know it?
It's well, I call it the Boneyard. People give me crap about that. There's another airport down there that's actually called a Boneyard. It's like an aircraft storage place. Let's see, northwest of Tucson. And it's a place where they store, you know, large aircraft bodies. It's at an airport unregulated airspace, not usually trafficked by planes. They store planes there because it's a super dry place. They can store them for longevity. Most of the planes there have all the engines ripped out and stuff, but it's just littered with planes from all sorts of different companies, and you can fly up and down all around them. And it's a really cool experience, like flying right next to the wingtip of like a 747 is pretty cool. But,
Yeah, that would be a cool place to fly.
Yeah. The Tucson Paramotor Group is awesome, by the way. Dan down there is a great guy.
I think he just moved to, if that's the same Dan, I think he just moved to Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, if it's the same one. Is it
If
Lieutenant
that's the
Dan?
case, Wisconsin is Dan,
Does he go by Lieutenant Dan?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it's different.
Isn't Eric Edmond over there?
In Tucson or in
Yeah.
Arizona? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's down in the area. I haven't actually met up with him though, but yeah, the Tucson Paramotor Group's a great group. If anyone's ever flying down in that area, reach out to them. They're super friendly. They've got a great list of LZs and rules, and they're very organized. The biosphere down there, awesome to fly by.
Oh,
So,
I'd love to do that.
oh, just giant greenhouse, like it was incredible. But the outs in Arizona are not friendly.
That biosphere, I'm going to give my age away here, but I remember when they first built that biosphere, and there was
Yeah.
a big controversy about building that thing. It was,
Yeah.
but that thing's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, flying by it. That was that flight when I flew by the biosphere. I think that was my first out of Colorado flight. And it was just awesome, to like the first time you're like traveling with your motor and you're like away from home and you're like, man, the whole world just opens up.
That's awesome.
Just an exciting time. And then, but yeah, the outs. Man, and I got a good story about that flight too. So it was actually the first time I had flown in shorts, and I'm not usually a short person, but I'm down in Tucson. It's super hot, like around.
You get some of that breeze in the nether regions. It's awesome.
Oh, you
Well,
get some cacti too.
I see like a washed out riverbed, so I decided to go down low and fly in it. And I'm flying all low down this riverbed, and a bee flies right up my shorts and stings me way high up. And I'm all like, I can't do anything. Just like squeeze throttle and gain altitude because I'm low. I don't want to let go of my brakes, and I gotta gain altitude. And I like reached out, I find this bee. I'm just like, never shorts again. Never. Can't do it.
That's funny.
But
I like hot shorts.
I did that riding a motorcycle one time, but I had on a long sleeve jacket, and I was riding, and the bee went up my sleeve, and he went up my sleeve, and I'm riding, and he went all the way up my neck, and I finally had to pull over and get it out of my neck. Yeah, and he never stung me until he got up to my neck, but I knew he was in there.
but like that panic when you're like, it's there, and like it's coming. So yeah.
And hopefully next month I can get you addicted to PG. Super excited. The day where I actually get to ride my first thermal and do it successfully, like a good 6-second radius thermal that's not too tight, I'm going to blast it all over the internet and be the king of the world. But I am really curious to see if am I going to enjoy the ride as much, because I've heard it does, like rougher air does feel different in the harness. And I don't know. I've met PG guys that are scared of thermals down where I am, but
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
I mean, I really admire the free flyers. I think that I have a lot of respect for them. I think it's really cool that it's just it's a different game, Yeah. Like you have.
I get what you mean about butter air.
You have to play it. You got to find those thermals. You got to seek them out. You got to read the air, read the ground, read the terrain. Feel it out, ride that thermal up. And people who stay up for hours, like I think that's amazing. I really think it's a cool feat, and I can imagine how rewarding that would be. But to me, I'm just like, I like the smooth air. I like to go up and bomb down and then do it again.
When it's super smooth and nothing's distracting you, you feel like you're the king of the world. Like, and anytime I've tried something new, either it's foot dragging or whatnot, it's because the air went smooth and I felt inspired. Other than like touch and goes, but that's because I had beach smooth air, so I had the smoothness and the low speed. Yeah. And then anytime I come into a great condition, I'm like, I'm feeling a little frisky. Like it just jacks you up and gives you so much dopamine when it's just so smooth and you can just kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah. And then like throw in music. Oh man. Like once I started flying, I didn't fly with music for a while.
I still haven't. I've never flown with music.
I was afraid it would be too distracting, but now like I friends are usually like, hey, you want to get calm up? And I'm like, no, I need my music. And flying to music was another big moment for me that really like just makes it another layer of
distraction.
Yeah.
If you want to take it to the next level, you need to fly on drugs.
That's too high.
Let's see if we got any more questions over here. Anybody got questions? Let's see. With my wing. Let's see. Anybody have questions for Mike?
What are some of the things you want to do next? Where you want to go, how you want to fly, or what's the next type of wing you're looking at?
I mean, I got that free ride right now, and I've been like playing around more and more with that. I mean, that thing's like, it's don't joke. It's definitely more acrobatic than anything I've flown.
And you don't get into big full wing overs anymore, do you?
Not so much. I did. I really pushed my wing overs for a while. And then after a while, I didn't feel the urge that I needed to push them that hard anymore. I don't know. It was just kind of a shift in my mentality and my flying, I think. But it's still something I want to progress. And that free ride definitely makes me want to practice it more. I mean, when I take that thing out and fly it, I haven't posted any videos, or maybe one, but when I take that thing out and fly it and I push wing overs in it, I end up doing barrel rolls essentially, So it just goes so fast. So, the first time I did that, it definitely put a little check on me, and I was like, ooh, yeah, careful on that. That can happen fast.
That would be scary.
So I'm bouncing between that. Really right now, I'm kind of happy where I am. I'd like to size down my Sirocco because I really love that wing a lot. I feel like it's a good balance between, efficiency, ease of kiting, ease of launch.
So if you love it, why do you want to size it down?
Just because I am lightly loaded on it. I want it to be a little more aggressive. I want something between my Sirocco and my free ride, essentially. I guess I could have bought a bigger free ride and, but I think I'd like to size down my Sirocco. I don't know. I love flying. It doesn't really matter what.
He's addicted. I met him and he's like, you got any paramotors? Where? Yeah.
Let me see it.
How many motors did he say he had?
Yeah. No, I
like 5 or 6 frames.
I'm full addicted. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's your current training schedule looking like? How many students do you have in the pipeline?
That's been an interesting thing.
We're losing.
A lot of students reach out and are like, yeah, I want to do this. And then I don't hear potential students, and then I don't hear from them, Yeah,
that's pretty common.
And so I have a couple in the pipeline that I'm pretty sure are gonna, make the jump. One I'm really hoping will, because he's got a cool LZ next to where all the balloons launch. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I'd say I've got like 3 or 4 potentials right now, but they all seem like they're kind of waiting on one thing or another. I like to give a first day, you know, that it's like free, come out, meet me in the field, we'll play with a wing and we'll talk about what training looks like, you know, and that's usually my time when I try to, you know, get them hooked, you know. I still think that like once somebody's interested, once they like bring up a wing for the first time and they see like this huge thing inflate and come alive, they're gonna be like, whoa, and then it's gonna go you'd be like, yeah, that was cool, but you can keep it up. Keep
yeah. I always thought kiting was a beautiful thing. It's like, wow, this $4,000 piece of fabric, and I'm just, like,
it is amazing.
That motivated me.
Like when I was young, I used to try to fly kites, and I couldn't do it. And then these things, you know, once you learn, they become pretty easy to fly once you know them and understand them. But
Jade might have made it back.
Yeah.
For a second.
What's your tuition?
My tuition for my school? Right now, it's only $2,000. But I am. It is, and I supply all the gear. I've got wings, I got motors. You know, yeah. But I do plan on, you know, boosting that up eventually. Right now, it's just cheap because, you know, it's still working out small details.
Because you're desperate, I get it.
Because I'm new. I'm not desperate. Is that what you said? Yeah. Yeah. Really, I just love flying. I want to share it with people, you know?
Yeah.
So.
But you got to make a living.
Yeah.
That's right. So.
Yep. $20 is $20. That's right.
Well, Jade made it back. Can you hear us, Jade?
Yeah, Jade, do you mind contributing to the show? It's your show, your channel.
I don't think she can hear us.
Ooh, let's talk some crap about her.
Maybe for the next 3 seconds, yes.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I moved to a different location because I started just giving up and watching.
Oh, no, she froze up again. Travis made it. What do you know?
All right.
Sorry, Travis, we're not doing spinny wheel tonight. That is
you guys
rigged.
on
I'll
TV.
admit that I rig it.
I was wondering where Travis was. I was missing him.
Yeah. So if you showed up for spinny wheel, I'm sorry. You can send me poop in the mail.
There's not one tonight. Sorry, Trav.
Sorry, Travis.
We'll send
Maybe
you a
watch
cheese
another
card.
night, different show.
We'll send him a cheese card.
Send him just one curd.
There
But
we
it's
go.
going to be extra squeaky.
Well, Mike,
actually,
thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
What were
pretty
you going to say? Do we?
This has been a really good show. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikey's one of my favorite guys that I've met around here. Like, you got to meet him in person. Like, he is like a paramotor crackhead. He's just like, paramotor, you want to talk about him? Oh, yeah. You want to go out to the field? He's just like nonstop.
Yeah. And my students know it too. Almost every training session, I'm like, all right, bye. And let me ramble like for another half hour at you. Bye. Oh wait, and then there's this other stuff you should know. And, you know, I don't know. Yeah, full paramotor addict. Absolutely. Can't get enough. So, yeah.
Everybody's
you guys
crying.
Paramotor, you know, in your veins here. Reach out.
Oh. Well, actually, I have one.
Oh, come on.
I have one we can do.
I haven't been plugging people in the spinning wheel. It takes work on my end.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
never mind.
didn't do it.
Never mind. Never mind.
Because he doesn't like the way I do it, so
Oh,
he
is that
wants
what
to do the.
Well, I use exactly what Sean Nasger uses for paragliding talk, which I have not watched or donated to that show in 3 months, and they probably think I don't like them anymore.
Work. Steve out again.
But the show comes on at like 5 o'clock my time, and it's like, well, I'm going out. I don't know.
All right.
Oh, okay, okay, Eric. You don't have any, do you, Eric?
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have any.
So if you guys want to meet Mike in the after show, you're welcome. I just put twice now the link to get in. Just remember to use Google or Firefox or Foxfire, whatever that one is, when you hit that link. It's simple. Come on in for a few minutes and say hi. But otherwise, thank you, Mike.
Yeah. It's been a blast.
Talking
Like I said.
your business. That was interesting. I'm sorry I didn't get to ask any questions. So, but look forward to seeing you around more also, hopefully.
Yeah.
And try to get a little Pete on the show. I've been trying for almost a year, I think. And he just won't come on.
Extreme
Yeah.
Pete's coming on though.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed
It's
it.
fun.
Been a good show.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's so good.
everybody for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah. You asked me to talk paramotor? I'm down.
All right.
You asked me to talk kitty? I'm down.
Oh yeah,
Where's mine's passed out on the floor over there.
yeah. Mine's on the chair.
So next
Come on, don't leave us hanging.
Oh, she left us hanging.
I can't handle the
Next
anticipation.
week we have.
week, if you guys are
Oh, she's here.
okay. I know. Next week, guest. Some of you will like, hopefully will love. We have Chucky Wright joining
Ooh.
us. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Chucky.
I love watching this whole community grow and the people who like flow through it, and I don't know, it's just a lot of fun.
It is.
Really, the whole community. Like
We'll see if I'm
Chucky.
hosting next week because I've talked a lot of shit to that guy.
Well, you'll be here. Be here or
Yeah.
be square.
I'll be a good sport, but
Exactly.
man,
Yep.
yeah.
Just be here. Oh Lord, Travis said. It's gonna be a good show.
All right.
Cool.
Steve?
Y'all come on in the after show.
yeah, we don't see
Yep.
you on there. We'll see you in there.
Good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
I will fight. I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue. And I will stay. I will stay with you. We'll make it to the other side like lovers do. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to until I can wait for you. I'll wait for you. 'Cause I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not yet. Even when I'm down on my last breath. Even when they say there's nothing left. So I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue.